To say you are live. Okay, so we are definitely live again. I'm sorry about the glitch before. For some reason, the PowerPoint that I was downloading was saving to a different place on my computer that it usually doesn't save to, so I could not find it. I had actually uploaded the wrong one. So thank you for your patience. Today we are on day 5 of a 6-part series all about early intervention. We are peeling back the layers on all things early intervention, and I am answering your questions. So if you are joining me live, go ahead and leave a question in the chat, or if you are watching the pre-recording, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch gears here. So today we're talking all about what happens when your little one qualifies for early intervention. And just really quickly, why families trust me is because I've been in early intervention for over 10 years, working as both a pediatric developmental therapist and also a service coordinator, which has really put me in a good place to teach this kind of stuff to you, because some of the stuff I'm teaching, I actually would not know if I was not a service coordinator. And to be able to connect being a developmental therapist and a service coordinator and knowing both ends of the early, or both sides of the early intervention program, is really important. And that's why I get to teach this to you guys. Okay, so if you want to go ahead and read over that, feel free. In the first video, I talked a little bit more in depth about this. And this is our topic series. Today, like I said, we're on day 5. So we're going to talk all about what happens if your child does qualify for early intervention. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk about the transition process. And I will be answering any questions that you guys have. So just make sure that you get those submitted. Okay, what has happened so far? So far you've called the early intervention program in your state to make the referral for your little one based on the concerns that you have. You were contacted by a service coordinator in your area to schedule an intake meeting. The intake meeting has already been completed. This was completed in person or by phone. And then the evaluation has already taken place, and the IFSP meeting. And we talked all about these in previous videos. And if you want a link to each video in the series, it is in the description below. So make sure you check that out so you can binge watch all of these. And then, so your child qualifies for services. Now what happens? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But really quickly, just remember that early intervention is birth to 36 months. Your little one will age out the day before their 3rd birthday. And then also here's a link to the early intervention program in your state. If you go to the cdc.gov, it will take you right there. It gives a list of states, and you can find yours for the early intervention program. Just to reiterate, this is also going to be in the description below, so you can find that and click on it, or you can take a screenshot. You do not need to wait for a pediatrician's referral to refer for early intervention. You as a parent can call. Okay, so your little one has qualified for services. So the frequency of the services is determined at the IFSP meeting. So you actually already have an idea of what the therapist had recommended. And typically that is 1 time per week, 2 times per month, or 1 time per month. Sometimes reassessments are also warranted as well. If your little one is like so super close to that cutoff, or maybe there's some genetic something, or maybe, you know what, we also have preemies that come in, or babies that were in the NICU where ongoing services just aren't really warranted yet, but reassessments are, just to kind of keep up with their progress and see how they're doing. I've also seen, okay, so if you do the reassessment, it's usually within 3 to 6 months. So they'll say, you know, the developmental therapist wants to come back in 6 months and do a reassessment, or the speech therapist wants to come back in 3 months to do a reassessment. I've also seen older kids around that 30-month age range that come into our program a little bit later and need significant services. And sometimes we will do 2 times per week for them, but that's not typically very common. Okay, so ongoing services are started. Your therapist is coming in whatever was discussed at the meeting. And then every 6 months, we have what is called a 6-month meeting. So after your child qualifies for early intervention services, the service coordinator will conduct a 6-month meeting with the parents, service coordinator, and the therapist to determine progress and to update any goals or strategies. A chance to see what is working with your little one and where we need to pivot with your little one's goals. So every 6 months. So, depending on your child's diagnosis and medical needs, these meetings typically only last about 30 minutes. They are conducted in person, on the phone, or via live video. And also, if you are a therapist or a family that's went through early intervention in a different state, other than Illinois, I would love for you to comment and let me know if this is kind of the process in your state. From what I understand, most of this is overall based on just the early intervention program and not state based. And then, so we're meeting every 6 months, remember? So after the 6-month meeting is the annual meeting. So you've already had the 6-month meeting with the service coordinator and the therapist, and now it's time for that annual meeting. However, before the annual meeting can take place, the therapists need to come in and complete their assessments again. Remember, at this point, it's been 1 year since your little one has been evaluated. They've been getting services. So depending on your child's needs, specific therapists will be brought in. And remember, always that developmental therapist is coming in to assess your child. So maybe at the initial, you had the developmental therapist and the speech therapist, and then your little one has started early intervention and has gotten weekly speech services. Well, it's been a year now, so maybe there's some concerns with some sensory processing. So at the annual meeting, you can still have that speech therapist come in and also the developmental therapist. And maybe now we're having an occupational therapist to come in and see what's going on with that sensory processing side with your little one. And then let's see here. The annual actually looks a lot like the initial evaluations did, with the testing, getting all new scores, writing new goals and strategies, and having that annual IFSP meeting. And then, okay, so you might be asking, what if my child comes into the program at 28 months and there isn't time for an annual meeting? And I feel like this is fairly typical, and that's okay. Remember, part of the early intervention program is to help your little one transition into the early childhood program at your home based school district. So, for example, if your child comes into the program at 28 months, that means they only have about 8 months in the program, aside from waitlists, of course. So, your child will have their 6-month meeting for sure. At that 6-month meeting or at the exit meeting, which we will talk about in a minute, sometimes the school district wants the early intervention therapist to complete another assessment so they can have accurate reports from professionals that have actually been seeing your little one for a while. And then, so most typical IFSP meetings, initial evaluation, 6-month IFSPs, exit IFSPs, and transition meeting, which we will talk about tomorrow. But these are most common. This is what you will see. Remember, you have that initial where they come in and do the evaluation. You have your 6-month check-in, and then you have your annual, and then you have your exit IFSP, and then the transition meeting. So the exit meeting is a fairly quick meeting to see how far your little one has come with their goals and strategies. The service coordinator is there to meet with the family. That will either be by phone or in person, or also that live video visit, and also the therapist. And at every meeting, the transition process to early childhood program is discussed. But at this meeting, you may actually also be meeting with the school representative in your school district's early childhood program to go over information regarding their school program and what entry looks like. Typically, this is completed over the phone if your service coordinator brings the school district representative over the phone. You also, as a parent or guardian, will also be signing off on paperwork since your child will be aging out of the program. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information, you guys, to talk about today. I feel like that one actually went really quick. So just remember, you have the referral, and then you have the intake meeting, and then you have the evaluations, and then you will start ongoing services. So if you guys have any questions at all, just let me know in the comment section. And if you guys want to know of a topic or something you want me to teach on, just leave that also in the comment below. And if you do want to connect with me, I've got my free and paid resources in the description below. Make sure you snag those. A lot of moms are loving the Milestone Mom quiz. So be sure to check that out and see what one of your 4 archetypes is. So we have an owl, we have a bluebird, we have a turtle, and we have a fox. So make sure you check that out to see which one you are. I'm going to go ahead and get to just a couple questions here. I feel like that one went really fast today. So let's see here. What if I disagree with the early intervention team? And I do want you to know that parents are a huge part of the IFSP team. You are a part of the team and you know your child best. So that is why I always say that you are your child's first expert and advocate. Let me go ahead and switch this. I always forget to switch. If you don't agree with something, I want you to voice it to the team. That is what we are there for. Through every single process of early intervention, we do our best to voice to parents that they have, a say-so in all of this by asking them questions such as, am I seeing this accurately? Do you have any questions? Is there anything that we should add? Are you okay with this? So I feel like we're always involving parents, and we definitely want your input because you are your child's expert. I always say this, we come in with our testing tools and our magic bags of toys, but you are your child's expert. We are the navigator. So just remember that. I also want you to remember that early intervention is completely voluntary. It is a voluntary program. So previously I told you that I've only had one kiddo qualify for services, and the parents decided not to continue with the program. And that was because dad was not on board, but mom was pushing for it. But other than that, typically when a family goes through the intake process, the evaluations, there's a 99.99% that the family will continue with ongoing services. So voice your opinions, voice your concerns and thoughts, and advocate for your child. We welcome it. And that is what you are there to do for them. And we appreciate you for that. Let's see what else we got. Let's see, I'm going to answer one more. Do parents attend early intervention sessions? So parents are 100% involved and asked to attend the sessions, or at least should be involved, I should say. Early intervention is a family-based model, and even if a therapist comes in one time per week, the purpose of that visit is to work with your child and educate you as the parent on what the therapist is doing with your little one and how you can work with them on that throughout the week until the therapist comes back. The therapist should then give the parent homework, as I like to say, on what they can be working on, like I just said. And believe me, we can definitely tell the parents that are working with their child throughout the week based on the recommendations that the therapist gives, because progress typically, not always, it depends on your child if they have any diagnosis or anything, or like medical conditions. But typically, progress happens a little bit faster when those parents are working with them through the week. And believe me, if after doing this for 10 plus years, I have had parents that think a therapist is a babysitter and will actually go do laundry or dishes while the therapist is there. And that is not the purpose of the program. And if that is happening, if you're a therapist listening, or even if you're a parent, the therapist should reiterate to you that this is a family-based program and they need you in there. So if that was not explained to you, I do apologize. If that was not explained to you by the therapist, I apologize. But if you're a parent watching, you know now the purpose of that program, or of our program. Okay, guys, I think that's it. Let me check one more time. Any questions or comments? No? Okay, guys, we have one day left, and that's it. Tomorrow, So let me get back to that slide. We are talking all things transition, and you don't want to miss this, especially if your little one is in early intervention right now and they're getting ready to transition into the early childhood program. You want to be here for that for sure. So guys, day 5, 1 day left. I'm really, really excited about this. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will chat with you tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.